You're listening to the We Are Libertarians Podcast Network. Find all of our shows at wearelibertarians.com. You're listening to the We Are Libertarians Network. Learn more at wearelibertarians.com.
Live. This is we're playing with live ammunition now. This is episode 7. Welcome to the Boss Hog of Liberty, episode 7. Dakota Davis, you're with me again. This is Jeremiah Morrell.
I cannot believe that we've made it to 7 episodes.
Our syndicator Chris Spangle of We Are Libertarians shared episode 6, and it came with a stern warning that we need to be nicer to our guests because apparently I was borderline abusive to Tanner in the last one.
Well, there's only so much you can do.
You kind of deserved it.
So the other voices that you hear as we go around the room are the lovely Miss Sara Potter.
Hi.
What do you have any titles? What my girlfriend and the something in the Morgan County Libertarian Party,
I'm the
right?
secretary of the Morgan County Libertarian Party, a.k.a. I email people when their memberships are getting ready to lapse.
All right. Well, good. Very
important.
That is. That's more than the state party does for letting people know when they need to re-up their membership. We're working on that.
National keeps sending me stuff constantly.
There you go. The National knows how to keep people active, like how keep people on the rolls to keep numbers going. So that's a good thing.
Maybe we need to learn a lesson or two.
And then in the fourth chair today is probably the biggest guest we've ever been able to get ourselves, Dakota.
Huge.
We have a... Well, I don't know what he prefers to go by. If he wants to go by his profession of being our barber, or if he wants to be a sitting county councilman. He's Clay Morgan is here with us today. Welcome.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
So, a good friend of both of ours, and he's a Henry County, Indiana councilman, elected Republican. You're on the We Are Libertarians podcast network, but we
that's right.
We're friendly to all here, no doubt about it. So, welcome. Glad we finally got you here. We worked this out.
I am very glad to be here. Finally, I told my wife, I've got to go. I want to do this. You got to let me. And she reluctantly said okay.
This is, as we're recording this, I don't know how quickly this episode's going to go up. Our syndicator turned over the keys to the uploading to me. So now it's on me. I had complained and cried enough that it was taking Spangle too long to edit our stuff and put it up. So now I'm responsible for editing and uploading. So
editing too?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's all me now.
You know how to do it?
Barely. Barely.
So you're saying this podcast has to be perfect.
Yeah, you can't make any mistakes, or else it's going to take twice as long. So there will be no errors of any sort.
No screeching.
That's why I said we're playing with live ammo here. So yeah, we're recording this on Mother's Day. We got
Mother's Day.
We all had our Mother's Day commitments we got out of the way. I know I spent the weekend with all of the moms in my life. Today we drove to I saw Sara's parents this morning and her grandmother over in north of Indianapolis, and then saw my parents southeast of Indianapolis. So I'd imagine we all had commitments. So we're meeting later on Sunday than we had originally planned to, I guess.
Yep.
Dakota had to eat a hamburger.
Yes, I did. I had to eat a hamburger.
You had a family barbecue.
You just had to, Yep. I went there at 6. I didn't even know about it. This was not a pre-planned occasion. I asked my dad for help to come and take down Dustin Reed's fence for me because I was purchasing it today. And in the midst of all this, after we had planned, we're going to have the podcast at 6, blah, 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 blah. He says, hey, we're going to have a cookout with your grandmas and your mom and everybody for Mother's Day, and it starts at 6. I was like, okay, well, that's great, because I had already pushed back the podcast once before, so I just sent you guys a message.
It worked out.
You were like, yeah,
and
that's
you can't
fine.
refuse family. You can't refuse
No,
family.
Absolutely not. I'm totally agreeable, and this is. I knew I was going to be running around today too, so that I'm glad we got the timing to work out for everybody, and we made it work. So over the course of this weekend as well, Clay being a prominent Republican in his county party and the Republican Party here, you had what they call a Lincoln Day dinner.
Yes.
So we haven't talked about this. So tell me how the Lincoln Day dinner was here for your home county.
Well, Lincoln Day was interesting.
It's a big fundraiser. So
it is
we
a
have
big fundraiser.
Believe it or not, we
Yeah.
have an international audience, not just a national audience, but an international
Okay,
audience.
okay.
So I guess we should define everything here. Abe Lincoln was president of the United States. He was a bit of a war criminal, but the Republicans still celebrate him.
You know, I read something the other day about Abraham Lincoln, and I guess that whenever he has the worst unemployment record on the books in history.
He did have a lot to overcome.
Holy
Lincoln bashing. We are
let's
less
get
than
back to
5
that.
minutes in,
Can
and we're
we just
Lincoln
get
bashing.
back to that Lincoln Day dinner?
So it's a big fundraiser,
Yes, it is.
and it's the rubber chicken circuit. So all of the people that are wanting to run for office and gain favor and become delegates in the Republican process kind of attend these and circulate around.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, we had a few faces there. There's some things going on in the Republican Party that aren't not officially announced, but everybody's got them in the back of their mind. So, yeah, those candidates come, those people come, and you know why they're there, even though they're not officially saying why they're there.
The musical chairs are afoot. It's the off-year election.
Exactly.
So, yeah, in Indiana, believe it or not, since Spengel turned over the keys, I've been able to see we're huge in Kentucky. Like half of our downloads have been in the state of Kentucky.
Oh, wow.
It's wild. So I don't know if we have one guy in a basement in Lexington, maybe Dustin Reed's cousin. I don't know, but we've got people that just continue to
Rand Paul country.
Hey, exactly.
Yeah.
Rand Paul and Thomas Massey, two of the better members of Congress, are down there. So, yeah.
I hope that Uncle Rand is listening to this podcast.
I think there's a good chance he is. I think he's probably a big fan of the Boss Hog of Liberty down in Hazard County, Kentucky.
Man, I hope so. I hope he calls us up one day and is like,
If
"Hey, is this Boss Hog?" And you're like, "Yeah, it is."
If Rand is listening, all he has to do is tweet us.
That's
He
right.
can tweet at Jeremiah Morrell or at Dakota Davis or whatever you are.
Rand Paul, if you are listening to this, please tweet us because we need you on this show.
Yeah. But we can't do mobile, so he's going to have to come to my spare bedroom to do the
Yes,
show
he is.
in central Indiana.
There you go, right?
So maybe we'll get him in for the next Lincoln Day dinner when he's running for something important, and we can
Very
double it
good.
up. He can
Very
come speak
good.
at the Henry County Lincoln Day dinner for Clay and visit with the Boss Hog of Liberty podcast in 2018. So you guys had U.S. Senator Todd Young. Mm-hmm. He spoke at your Lincoln Day, and I got to hear him earlier in that day. My sister chose to graduate on the same day as they run an IndyCar race in Indianapolis, which was brutal for me. But I had to choose blood over racing again. So I drove up to Trine University and sat through 700 names getting called and listened to Senator Young give 497 points of why a college education is important.
I thought that was it, 497.
497, yeah. It stuck with me. I don't know
Yeah.
why. It's just memorable, that
Is
number.
that a coincidence, or
I tried to write it down, but
did you take notes? Did you learn a lot from him?
I can tell you one thing I learned. He is a big supporter of the local Taco Bells around the state of Indiana.
He
Is
does.
that-
So as he was traveling and campaigning this past election season, I guess he knows exactly where all of the Taco Bells are in the different towns that he was going to.
Interesting.
Nice.
Now,
So he
Riddle
eats a
me
Taco
this.
Bell.
Nice.
is he a Marine?
I'm not sure.
I don't know.
It didn't really come up.
I mean, at Lincoln Day, he
I
mentioned
did see-
Marine one time.
I did see they called it for all of the service members in the room to stand up at one point, and I did see him rise. So I can only assume that he was in some sort of the armed forces.
Well, that's just respectful.
Yeah,
No, you can't blame him for that. But he is a Marine, though.
it'll get you elected. That'll beat a former
Right.
U.S. senator in a race. If you're a Marine and he's the senator from Virginia, I think that's all it takes.
And eating lots of Taco Bell.
And eating lots of Taco Bell. So what was the
I got one of
message
those
to the Republican faithful
Right,
yesterday
right.
from the senator?
Well, it was a lot about, he talked a lot about the next year's election, obviously, the Senate seats that are important there. And we even got one in Indiana with Senator Joe Donnelly, which is going to be tough race there, but everybody's kind of gearing up for that. And then just discussed a few of the things in Washington that were, some of the mandates that they had overturned and this and that and the typical stuff you hear. But then what he did mention healthcare a little bit, talked about healthcare slightly.
They're going to force that through the Senate in the next month or two.
Well, he didn't really talk about how, when, where. But the one thing that caught my attention was that he said the Democrats that are willing to talk to him, he wants to know their ideas.
Okay.
So that was one thing I caught that was a little more bipartisan. So I thought, I thought that was cool because the fact is, it's there, and so it's a wicked web, and it's very hard to pull the cloth off the table, so to speak, without making some noise. So I don't know. I just hope they don't mess it up. To be
There's
honest,
already been a lot of noise being made.
yeah, it's already messy. I mean, and whoever steps in to try to fix it, if they continue to cause more problems, those are the people that's going to get the blame for it, not the people that set it up in the first place.
Yeah,
Right.
I think everybody knows right now that the healthcare system in the United States, the way it's set up and the way the government's involved, it's like a stage 4 cancer, and it's just a matter of who's signing the death certificate of where this is going to end up.
Yes, very messy.
It's going to end up in somebody's hands. And
Well, it's interesting whenever you mention his speech there, because at Trine, whenever he was talking there, he was talking about how we do things for the common good, and it's more of a collective type thing. He only used the word collective once or twice.
He did like the phrase common good, though.
He did love the phrase common good, and so that was something he talked about a lot, is how, whether you're Republican or Democrat, he didn't mention libertarians, sadly, but he said whether you're Republican or Democrat, whatever you're doing, you should be doing for the common good. So serving others instead of
Are you
just
telling
serving
me
your own
right now, are
self-interest.
you dropping the bombshell that Todd Young is a collectivist? Is that what you're telling me?
I'm just saying what he said.
You heard it on Boss Hog of Liberty first. Todd Young is a collectivist.
Felt like the message at the time. All right. So, and then, looking at this Indiana Senate race, if Senator Donnelly is going to be challenged, there's a couple of sitting Republican Congress people that are looking at giving up their seats. So then I'd imagine you had a bunch of other local Republicans that are circulating around, trying to position themselves for the 6th district seat, because Luke Messer is our current congressman in this district.
Yes,
he's the number 4 or number 5 Republican in the House.
Yeah, number 5.
And was he there? Did he make?
He did not. He had one representative there, but no.
He's probably at the big money dinners now at this point.
Exactly.
No. Yeah. He's probably in Fisher's trying to find receipts for what his wife has been up to. Trying to figure out what the invoices will get you. You're in county government. Do we have any attorneys that we pay $20,000 a month?
Let me think. No.
No. Maybe we should. No. Can you imagine the amount of economic activity we'd get if we had a $250,000 attorney?
Exactly.
Who was married to a senator to a congressperson?
And when I saw that on AP, the Henry County Democrats posted that on their Facebook page.
Yeah.
All right. So of course they're going to get that out there. And I'm reading it and I'm looking at it, and it's very horrible optics, obviously. All above board, all legal, all on contract, but very bad optics. And if anything, I mean, I don't know that I would. I mean, I understand why, but I'm not going to look at Jennifer Messer and go, man, you're awful. I'm actually going to look at Fisher's. And I'm going to say, why did you do that?
Are you really happy with this service? This is worth
right,
it to you.
exactly.
Was it worth it?
They're the ones that signed the check.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Oh,
I mean,
sure.
I get it.
Oh, yeah. I'm not casting stones at her, but
no, I know. I know.
And it goes both ways too.
Yes,
so
it does.
So
It does.
Governor Pence at the time,
his
wife had a small business with watercolors, and I think she was selling beads or something. And people were overly critical of her because she's not making any money, and she's showing a home income of $100 a month or some ridiculously small number. And he's catching crap for that because his wife can't work outside the home and can't do anything. And then Congressman Messer is out there making $250,000 a year, and that's wrong too. So it's politics, I guess, is what we know.
Here's the thing.
That's the best way to put it. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that the messaging from this is we want our politicians to let their women work outside of the home, but we don't want them to make too much money.
We don't want we don't want the women to be well paid. I think.
Right?
Is what we're
Yeah. Let's stay around that $80,000 mark.
It's interesting. Yeah.
Don't make too much. Also, be pretty. That's the other thing.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, what will be interesting on that issue is when you get down to, and you guys know me, and I just like to listen to common sense people, but when you get down to party politics, it's going to be the Democrats that have been crying out.
Right up on the mic for me.
Sorry about that.
Sorry.
It's Democrats that are going to be crying out for higher pay for women, right? Mm-hmm. but now it's going to be Democrats that are crushing Jennifer Messer because she makes too much money.
She's making an income.
Nobody's going to crush her until Todd Rokita's done crushing her. what does his wife do, by the
Now
way?
that will be
Is she
interesting.
employed? Is she making $175,000 for the city of Carmel?
Todd's?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
I don't know.
I've only
Somebody
seen
should
him
look
once.
into it.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, well, that's the.
It will definitely be all the hubbub, I'm sure, here in the next few months. We'll see how it goes.
Stay tuned. Stay tuned for more of that, I suppose.
Because either way, Messer has a
Flip that light
race coming
switch on.
up.
Now the sun's going down as we push this into the longer afternoon hours. Dakota's got us podcasting in the dark here in my spare bedroom, so we're making some adjustments to the lighting in here. So this podcast, I had just kind of a general note line over here of what I wanted to talk about, and this podcast, the inception of it, and the reason the Boss Hog of Liberty exists, I guess, is in a big part because of Clay. Clay, maybe 3 or 4 months ago,
Sounded like
messaged
a
myself.
great idea, right?
Myself and 2 or 3 other guys, and said, "Hey, let's do a podcast." And I was like, "Well, I kind of have friends that know something about this, and I've done a couple as a guest." So I said, "Hey, I think I can try to figure something out." And we had a little bit of momentum at the time, and got all the equipment, and then of course I sat on it for a month or 2 and tried to get everybody back together. And here we are, 7 episodes in before any of the 4 people that were in the original conversation
there you
are
go.
here.
I was keeping Clay filled in though. I
He
go in
was.
there. I go in there once a week,
He does.
and it's
Doesn't tip, but he goes in once a week.
Hey, as
Hey.
long as he comes in once a week, that's
Is
fine
there
with
any
me.
customer
That's
that you see
redemption.
more than this guy?
I have 4 or 5 customers that are once a week.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
See, it's not like it's this rare thing that
Yep.
happens.
Yep.
I mean, I just like it to be clean. You know what I mean?
I
Get him
guess.
looking sharp.
I understand that. I never look as sharp as maybe it takes the weekly plan. I don't know, or it's out of practice. I never look
It's
as
a once a
styled
week
as he
plan.
does when I leave.
Hey,
I-
if you
you
come
know-
in every week, your haircuts are $2 less.
Is that right?
That's
That is
right.
true.
It's the
Yeah.
coupon. It's the unspoken
That is
coupon at
true.
the MVP.
That is true.
You just have to know the right people.
Are they like frequent flyer miles?
That's right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Eventually,
He's got the
you'll-
gold
it's like
card.
buy 6 get 1 free type thing.
It's like at the casino where all the rookie gamblers get the green card, and the more you come back, you get a different
Right.
you get a different one.
I think I'm at silver card status as of right now.
in MVP
But
or
I-
at the casino.
At MVP.
Yeah.
I think that if I went and I got my hair cut and did a beard trim every week, I would probably get up to platinum card status.
I feel like we're close to getting a sponsorship at this point. What other services are offered? You get haircuts.
That's pretty much it.
That's
It's
pretty much it?
just haircuts.
Do you shaves or anything?
Haircuts, beard trim.
I used to go
No.
when I went to the building before, and it was Lightfoot's, which is my
right.
this is the way Newcastle works. It's small town Indiana, so it was my barber shop / the place I went to buy houses. They were my realtor,
Exactly.
and now it's my county councilman. So I talked to him about the park board junk, and I get my hair cut. So
There you go.
This
There you
is
go.
This is small town in Indiana.
He also has
But
coffee.
Lightfoot's, and he has coffee. He doesn't offer that to me.
He's got coffee.
There is
It's-
coffee there.
It is right out in the open. Like
Yes,
it's not like
Never
something-
noticed it.
Yes, it is there.
Do you still have? Do you have? What else do you have in there? Do you have push pops, or is that from
well,
the old people? had
popsicles.
those?
There's
Yeah.
some popsicles that are available for anybody.
Yeah.
Are you telling
Yeah.
me that you go in and get a haircut and don't take a popsicle and a sucker?
I do have suckers. There's even
It's
bottled
not
water.
the bank.
How old are you, Dakota? 12?
21.
He was
Reverse
just in
the
there. and
numbers.
Does he sit in a
left
booster
with a
seat?
sucker. He left with a sucker in his mouth. He sure did.
Does he
always
sit in a
is
booster
like
seat in there?
Well, he's a little taller.
Which I did notice, Clay, you're running low on the fruit punch suckers.
Uh-oh.
Time to get another bag of Dum
When he's
Dums.
in there weekly, you're able to keep track of the inventory on him. Oh God, that's funny. So, and then every time I go in, this is another cool thing about going to Clay's barber shop. I do notice this. He has the old place. They had ESPN on, which was nice, but it's always Glenn Beck. So,
Yes.
Chairman Sarwalk, Nick Sarwalk, is the Libertarian Party chair.
He was on.
So he was on Glenn Beck this last week. So I immediately the National Party had emailed us, so I screenshotted it and put it on Clay's wall and let him know that it was going to infiltrate, and you're going to have to make some big changes in your life. You're either going to have to not have Glenn Beck on, or the Libertarians were going to be invading the barbershop.
He was on. He was on.
So what'd you think?
Well, one thing I noticed, honestly, every time he was on, I was really busy.
Weird.
So
So the Libertarians attract business.
They must have really been, yeah. So I didn't get to hear much, but I did. I didn't know. I didn't know of who your national chairman was before.
Okay.
Okay, but I did see the convention that was very interesting
Yeah.
when he chose to dance?
No. That was the guy that was trying to challenge him.
Oh, okay.
That was
that it?
that was
that
yeah
it?
that was
Okay.
some idiot
Thank
from Michigan.
you for the correction.
That is not our national
I'm
chairman.
actually glad to hear that.
Yeah.
But this guy
No,
was solid. He represented himself well. He did a good job for the Libertarian Party.
he's a good guy. He
Yeah,
came to Indianapolis a year ago, and he came to our state convention. I got to hang out with him, and actually
Cool.
myself, and two members of the Libertarian National Committee that were there, we went to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and toured the track.
Okay.
And had a really fun day with
Well, he like I
with
said,
Nick.
I didn't get to hear much, but he presented himself very well, and from what I've heard when I watched Glenn Beck, it seemed at times. I mean, he always talks about being a libertarian,
Sure,
but he always also talks about there's certain people within the party that I don't know who they are, but that don't like him, or there's a little clash of views.
Oh, sure.
But when him and your national chairman were on there together, they were very open with each other, and the little parts that I caught, it looked. I mean, it was good. It was good for your party.
And our people all kept their clothes on, which was important.
Which that's a plus.
Good thing James wasn't
Yeah, I read the
there.
transcript of it, and Nick, he did a really good job. He was very professional, presented himself well. They agreed on a lot of points, but Glenn, he put it out there, his fundamental disagreements that he has with some of the party platform, and Nick was very respectful about that, understood where he was coming from, and he just did an overall good job of representing libertarianism as a lifestyle instead of an actual party. That's where I think he did a pretty good job.
Yeah. I think, I don't know, you guys are obviously more into it, that side of things than I am.
Sure.
But I think, and it may be a long fight ahead, culturally, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but I think that's where the real meat is presenting it as a lifestyle, not just a political party. Because when you present things as a political party, I mean, that's one of the biggest problems I see within the Republican Party and the Democrat Party is it's all about the party. And so, as a Republican, if I think a Democrat has a decent idea, well, now I'm a rhino.
Right.
Or if there's a Democrat that thinks a Republican has a decent idea, they got some name for them too. I mean, we're so split. We're so polarized now as a nation. It's kind of ridiculous.
Well, that's the nice thing from our side is that we're able to work with people when they're right. So when I agree with Republicans, and I have many Republican friends,
right?
I'm able to work on those issues with them, and we can advance ideas. And at the same time, I have a friend, Gary Snyder. He's been hitting me up, and I'll tell you now, Gary, I'm going to finally buy your stupid T-shirt. Okay? He's running for state senate in Indiana, and he's basically running his entire platform on he wants cold beer on Sundays.
Oh, okay.
And he's running against an incumbent Republican, and he's going to more or less be a one-issue candidate, but it's an issue that's going to be on the side of freedom. Mm-hmm. So his wife is Pepper Snyder, who ran for Congress in the 3rd District this last time.
Have you heard a lot about the cold beer on Sunday issue?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, here's what I've always thought, because I'm a Christian man, right?
Sure.
And I've always thought that it was because of some Christian people or some, that they didn't allow it. I thought that's where it all came from. And it wasn't till I admit my ignorance here, it wasn't just till a couple years ago I found out that is not the reason.
Yep.
There's a lot of people out there that think those dang Christians, that's not the reason.
Oh, absolutely.
The reason is the big alcohol lobbyists don't want it sold on Sunday because they want to be able to have a day off during the week and they don't want to compete.
Yeah, there's total protectionism, and some people, the package liquor, the liquor stores, are dealing with that. Right?
Yeah. That's
and then, but you still can't buy warm beer on Sunday either. It's this very, we have such an arcane system in Indiana. Apparently, we all learned this in the last month or two. A big grocery store, the biggest Indiana-based grocery store, Marsh, has been circling the drain and is going to be going out of business, most likely. They're filing for bankruptcy, and about a week and a half ago, they said, hey, we're going to close all of our pharmacies. And they didn't realize at the time that the upper management at Marsh, that when they closed their pharmacies, that meant they could no longer sell spirits, because only the reason that grocery stores are able to sell spirits is because pharmacies are allowed to sell spirits. So
Really?
then they had a fire sale, and all of these marshes had to sell all of their vodka and whiskey and gin by Friday of that week, or else it was useless to them. They wouldn't be able to sell it at all. So
Oh,
they had to
wow.
liquidate.
Wow.
So they closed the pharmacies and then went, oh crap, we have to get rid of all of the hard alcohol.
No
And-
pun intended, right? Liquidate.
Liquidate, exactly. And that's why our local marsh, when we had one here in Newcastle, I would walk around looking, trying to buy a bottle of vodka, and they didn't have it because they never had a pharmacy in there. And that's the reason why. I never had that
Interesting.
correlation
Huh.
until
Yeah,
this
never knew
last
that.
week or two.
There's all kinds of interesting things on the books.
So, yeah, it is hopefully Indiana is going to take a step forward. There's a summer study committee, and I'm optimistic that we're going to have some updates to the liquor laws in the state of Indiana.
Hopefully just simplify them just for the sake of business owners and consumers alike. But
Right. There's
it'd be
a
nice to have more freedom where, something you can buy on Saturday, you can't buy it on Sunday.
You have to.
It's silly.
I could drive 20 miles up the road and go to a brewery right now and buy cold beer that they made there and put it in a growler. But I can't go to the store that's a mile from my home and buy something. Even though there are people in the store, I can't go to the Walmart or the Kroger and buy beer that they have. That aisle is blocked off today.
Even if it's made by the same brewery.
And it could be from the same brewery. Absolutely. It's very, very arcane. So,
I've also heard, and I may be wrong, that you can't actually walk an elephant on the sidewalk
in Indiana?
in
I've
Indiana.
never
anywhere.
tried.
I was thinking that was a law.
Well, our friend Darren would tell you that you need a permit to own that elephant before you can even talk
That
about
is
where you're going
true.
to walk that.
That is
walk
true. That
thing.
is true.
So yeah, this has been funny. I've had so much fun. And Darren is one of the four that we were talking about originally. So at some point, my expectation is that he's going to make an appearance on this podcast, probably one, and then hate me forever and never come back.
I talked to him the other day in the shop,
Yeah, I know he's been listening.
and he said that he's going to get on here.
All right.
That's what he said.
Well, we're gonna have some fun. And I honestly, I kid him, and I think he's the president of the town council in a very nice town in Henry County, Spiceland, Indiana. So when you get off of our main exit on 70 here, you go south to Spiceland, north to Newcastle, and he's the president of the town council, and he had probably 3 years ago, somewhere in that range, an individual who had some chickens at home, and apparently it wasn't allowed in that town. And I've encouraged them to try to find a way to make residential poultry farming something that would be equitable, and it hasn't worked out. So at some point, the jackbooted thugs of Spiceland made him get rid of his chickens, and they've never returned. So I've continued to advocate for poultry free, any
I don't
aviary
think you
freedom, really.
understand how bad I want chickens in my backyard.
So this is a passion issue for Dakota because he wants goats and he wants chickens.
but I understand.
You want to go back out and get some eggs, don't you? You just want
Yes.
to get out in that backyard and
and
get
I
some
want
eggs.
I want the chickens.
I do too.
I think they'd be fun. I think that my dog Daisy would have a blast running around with some chickens.
Yeah, probably.
She wouldn't hurt
That's
him or
your dog
anything.
that can walk in a straight line and
Right,
can still
right.
see.
Daisy is
Doesn't wear diapers.
Right. But
The other,
I
you
think
had
that
a
she
dog
would have so
funeral
much fun.
since the last episode, or are we still
I
hanging
don't
on
know.
tight?
Dodger is doing great.
Still
We
hanging
had a
on.
little mishap.
What does great mean?
I mean, he's like
As good
compared
as
to a
it
normal dog, he's at like 60%. But for him, he's 110.
On the last episode, you barely made it, or 2 episodes ago, Dodger had fallen off the porch, and I think he was at the vet.
Oh yeah.
So,
he was
we-
in horrible shape.
Oh man.
But what happened is we had a little bit of a vet tech gave us the wrong information for his new medication. This lady gave us wrong instructions and just sent him hurling into a world of mess and destruction and withdrawals. The vet that we took him to, whenever this was all happening, said that he was even probably hallucinating. So I don't even know what
What
do
is
dogs
he seeing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
what do dogs hallucinate about? Is what I
Oh
don't
my
understand.
gosh.
Like, is he imagining me as a Polish sausage that's carrying him around
He wanted
whenever
to
he's
eat
going
you?
to the vet? Yeah, it was wild, but he is back to normal.
Speaking of that reminded me this morning, my one of my boys, my 9-year-old, we're in the van and we're riding to church, and he says, "Dad," he said, "you don't want to leave your dogs when you go on vacation." He said, because then they get really, really hungry. And I'm sitting there thinking, okay, yeah, and he said, yeah. And said, then when you come home and you go in, they'll eat you.
They're not cats.
And I'm like, wow, you're thinking, aren't you?
Yeah, they're not cats.
Gonna eat you.
I'm sure the cats would eat you in no
Yeah,
time.
I'm positive. I had an acquaintance, not really a friend, but I mean, I trusted this person. His sister-in-law, whenever she was in
Start
college,
sketching this out. An acquaintance with a sister-in-law.
Yeah.
We're getting distant.
His sister-in-law had a pet anaconda, and
Oh, wow.
I think it was an anaconda. Is that the huge ones?
Yes.
Okay, one of the giant,
very
snakes.
large snake,
Yeah,
yes.
but she just let it.
Python? Was it a python?
Might have been a python.
An
Pythons
anaconda
are usually
is
pets.
not typically kept at home.
Usually
A
in
python
the
is
these
a
are
little
Amazon,
more.
these are like, I mean, the huge giant snakes. Like
pythons
10-foot
can
long
get
snakes.
really, really big,
Okay.
An
Anyway.
anaconda takes like a team of 9 men to move.
and they live in
Okay.
the Amazon.
Maybe not.
And rappers sing about them.
Okay. She had this snake, a very large snake, and she just let it roam around her apartment. She lived in an apartment, by the way.
Nice.
Pet friendly, I guess. And she would just let it roam around, do its thing. It was just like a regular pet
Catch
to her.
cats and rabbits.
And it would, at nighttime, it would curl up at the foot of her bed, like coil up
Yeah.
and sleep on the bed with her. And yeah.
Oh, my.
So this thing
Goodness.
starts acting really funny, really sick. It stops eating. It's not eating anything. It's not coiling up whenever it sleeps. It's sleeping. It's stretching out long ways
Lord.
along the side of the bed. And she has no idea why. She doesn't know what's going on. So she takes it to the vet. She thinks it's dying. And the vet says, you need to take this snake to a zoo or a snake rescue immediately because he is stretching himself out and fasting, preparing himself to
He's
eat
going to kill you.
Oh, my goodness.
Like, how crazy is that? I mean, that just totally blows my mind.
Wow.
This lady's
It's-
pet
Wow.
was
He
preparing
was
itself to
plotting
eat
against her.
Wow.
Plotting against her.
Interesting.
Well, back to animals that won't kill you.
Yes.
Chickens, right?
Chickens.
Chickens. Yes.
Well,
My dog
yeah.
Daisy would have so much fun with chickens, and I want some fresh eggs. It's just such a hot button issue for me. And I actually talked to a town council lady who was on the board whenever they outlawed chickens within city limits.
So, yeah, we have like 3 different municipalities.
Right.
Our friend Darren is the town council president in Spiceland. You live in the city of Newcastle. The two of you live in the city of Newcastle.
Yeah.
So those are
Correct.
rules that you would have to play by.
Right.
And then I live in Henry County. I don't live in the city. I can
Just
I can see the
outside.
front from my front porch. I can see the city, but I'm in the county. So
Across the street, right? Near
exactly.
The city, just
yeah,
about.
if I get to Main Street, that's the city of Newcastle. But this out here
So
is
you
the
can
county.
open burn.
I can open burn, and I'm supposed to have 5 acres to have chickens. So with the way the rules are now, which seems arbitrary, I have a third of an acre, and I have facilities that could very easily take care of.
They're kind of small,
3 to 4
right?
Chickens. Well, so I don't know how you define a chicken, honestly. I don't know what identifies as a chicken. I have free range birds that come by and they lay eggs, and I could
that
cook
is
them.
true.
I could eat them. I can raise. They can reproduce, and I can raise them for meat if I wanted to. And I don't know what to call a chicken anymore. I have what I've had are, some people would call them a robin, or they could be a bantam. I don't know. But I had some free range chickens come by
Yes.
and built a nest
Yeah.
outside of my yard.
Yeah.
And I've been telling Darren, because I don't want to be in trouble. I don't want him to come by and find me or come to my mailbox and have a letter telling
Right.
me that I've done something wrong. Because I don't want to
Exactly.
be on the bad side of the county,
Exactly.
at least on that issue. I'm not trying to build a windmill or anything. I'm just trying to raise some birds.
We're crying out loud, right?
Come on, man. I just want to feed my family. My dog loves eggs, and I bet yours do too.
I bet she would.
Yeah. So I
Scrambled, though. I don't think
So-
she'd do fried.
well, my dog eats apples. He doesn't care. I think
Oh,
he would-
wow.
He'll eat whatever you put in front of him.
Yeah, he tried to eat plastic earlier when he spit it out when he realized it.
Both of
wasn't
my
gonna go
dogs
down.
are incredibly picky eaters. Although Daisy, when she was a puppy, would eat Dodger's poop.
I remember that
Yeah.
story.
So she took pet ownership to a whole new level of disgusting. Whenever I saw her doing that.
He was trying to connect and become one.
Yeah, you just clean it up.
One with Dodger.
No, well, how I fixed it was the vet told me to go outside and put hot sauce on it after he pooped, and I did. I took a bottle of Cholula hot sauce.
You got the right brand.
Right.
Cholula.
It's
It
Cholula.
couldn't be Frank's. Frank's doesn't work. You have to use
No.
Cholula.
Next
Cholula
thing he
is
knows,
the-
his dog's wearing a sombrero.
Yeah.
You know.
Cholula is the official hot sauce of Boss Hog of Liberty. I'm putting that out
Did
there
she
now.
change?
We have a wireless carrier and a hot sauce hot sauce
wireless?
company now. Brisket Wireless and Cholula hot sauce. Have you listened? Did you hear the Brisket Wireless?
I've seen Brisket Wireless. You know, I've seen the but I have not.
An MVP barbershop.
And MVP Barbershop. No doubt.
I haven't inquired though about Brisket Wireless, but
No, I went outside.
Go quick. It sounds like they have about 2 customers a week.
I poured the hot sauce on there. She went over there, ate it, and she hasn't eaten any since. It worked.
All right. Well, now we know. So if you have problems with one dog A
Wow.
eating dog B's leftovers, a little Cholula, and it's the problem takes care of
That's
itself.
right.
All right.
interesting. I'll have to remember that.
So I had some eggs that were laid by my free range chickens, and I posted on Facebook and I tagged my zoning ordinance guy. Darren is in charge of zoning for the county, so I wanted to make sure he knew. So I've been tagging those, and I've gotten a pretty good following. People all over the country have been watching and keeping up, and my chickens have grown and grown and grown. And then I left the house. I went to almost to Michigan to go to my sister's graduation. I came back home last night, and I think Darren stole my chickens. They're gone.
Wow. Yeah.
And now he's not here to answer for himself.
That's
And he has not
despicable.
weighed back in. He had been telling me I need a permit for things. We had a dialogue.
Right.
And now it's over.
I definitely think you need to record that in the notes so that when he is on the show, you can face to face.
We do need to have some
confront
questions.
him.
Well,
you
and-
have that, Madam Secretary?
And these chickens have been
Got it.
These chickens have been infiltrating the entire county, because I know you
I did.
brought us up to speed today,
Yes.
saying that you also
Yeah.
have some chickens laying. They're Oricanas. Oricana chickens lay green eggs. So I assume the green and blue eggs, that has to be what you have, just very small ones.
Yes, exactly. They were identical to what
They're
you
midget
were
chickens.
informing the county of. Yeah.
Henry County
Yeah.
is being taken over by midget.
Mini Aracanas,
Chickens.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And,
Bantam Oricanas.
So I do. I have 3 little eggs there, and you know,
Well, guard them when they'll grow along,
yeah.
and then one day
Yep. Whatever you do,
Once
do
they
not
have
let,
feathers, that's when people get nervous.
they
do
start
not let
to run
Darren
off.
Jacobs know.
Yeah.
Whatever you do.
I'll have to keep it a secret.
I wish you luck. I had so much joy when I had those birds and they were growing and they were coming along. I don't know. The other thing that I have never understood is what's the difference between a chicken and a robin and a parakeet.
Well,
And
apparently,
why can I have a bird for a pet, but I can't have a chicken?
the madam, to be respectful, the woman that I had the conversation with about why she outlawed my chickens in the city, she told me that they had rodent problems within chicken coops. People were feeding them, their grains or whatever,
Sure.
and rodents would come and pick them up and scurry away, and
They wouldn't do that with dog
Come
food
back.
or cat food. Maybe we should have outlawed
apparently
all
not.
sorts of
All
animals.
pets.
they don't do that. They don't like. I don't think they like dog food or cat food.
You know what takes care of rodents?
A BB gun,
Snakes.
correct?
Until they try to kill you.
Well, I'm just saying, if you
Then
have
they'll stop
a
eating.
good rodent supply, maybe your
I mean-
snake won't try to kill you.
That is true.
Obviously, the rodents were already there. They were just eating some of the chicken feed. They were already there. We did not produce the rodents.
So
they
chicken
lived here
feed
already.
doesn't produce rodents.
No.
And
chicken
chickens
feed
don't
does not
produce.
have like magical
Interesting.
rat producing
Gotcha.
dust in it.
Gotcha.
They just so happen to be attracted to it the same way as if someone has their dog outside, they have a pen for him, they are going to come and they are going to eat your dog's leftovers as well.
I wonder
is
if
the
they can
same
smell it
philosophy.
from miles away, though. Is that
it
the
might
problem?
be. It might. These might be. We might have
Because
super
outside
chickens.
of the city is a lot of cornfields and farms,
right.
and
We
they
might
may
have
smell.
super chickens in Henry County.
That's
Super chickens that eat super feed that attract super rodents.
wow.
If you're interested in this, I have a book for you. It is called the... Oh, shoot. Now I'm not going to be able to remember it. Something about extraordinary poultry farmer. It is a children's novel about this girl who has these magical chickens that she inherited from her uncle. And she has to go capture them from all the different places in town because there's a lady who's trying to steal them because she knows they have special powers.
I don't think I'd be interested in that book because this
excellent.
woman is allowed to have her chickens in town and I'm not.
They
It
do
would just
live out
make
in
me
the
Have you
upset.
country.
visited Grand
In a
Cayman lately?
farm.
If you go to Grand Cayman on a cruise or something, chickens everywhere.
Key
They just
West.
roam the
Oh,
streets
really?
wild.
Key West
yeah.
is like that too.
Yeah.
Well,
And the
do they have a
roosters-
rodent problem? I
I
bet
don't
they
know.
have a rodent problem.
But the roosters do not know what time of day it is. So roosters are crowing literally 24/7 in Key West.
Yeah, that's not roosters. Don't they crow all day long? They don't
Well,
care. They don't care about mornings.
These
That's
are
not.
very, very loud roosters, even when it's dark.
I thought the
That's
roosters
Warner
were able
Brothers.
to tell time.
No, that's Warner Brothers telling you that.
My whole life has been
Looney
a lie.
Tunes.
Yeah, mine too.
A lot of
Thanks,
lies.
Jer.
See, I would have known
Wow.
that had I been allowed to have chickens in town.
Well, that's okay. So the other thing that would be responsible is if you're gonna keep chickens, just keep hens. Hens don't crow,
Right. You can still have eggs
you have
without
your
the
eggs.
rooster.
and
That's-
there's my dog.
That's a thought.
The dog alarm's going off.
Oh,
Wonder what
man,
that is.
I hope that's not Jesse
It could
Riddle.
be Jesse Riddle. He's here to pick up some things. He's not supposed to be on the. He doesn't even know we're podcasting. We should really keep our voices down.
Everybody whisper.
Don't want to get in trouble with Jesse.
Should I go check the door?
If somebody comes in the door and tells me the house is too hot or too cold, I'll know it's Jesse. Never right.
No.
Never good enough for Jesse.
He's like, my house is always on 65. And Jeremiah said, this room is 65. And he said, there's no way. There's absolutely no way it's 65 in here.
Speaking of,
There he is. Mr. Jesse Riddle has arrived. So, all right. Well, we're going to take a brief pause. This will be I guess, a commercial break. We'll slide something in here once Clay gives us our check for becoming the official barbershop of the Boss Hog of Liberty. We'll have a commercial, I guess, for MVP Barbershop in Newcastle, Indiana, and we'll go from there. So we're going to take a brief break, take care of Mr. Riddle and whatever his needs are, and we'll pick this up in a moment.
hey, this is Clay Morgan from MVP Barbershop, official sponsor of the Boss Hog of Liberty podcast. Hey, if you would like a nice haircut, come on down to 1990 South Memorial Drive in Newcastle, Indiana. Haircuts are $12 a piece, unless you're 65 or over, and it's only $10. Or you could be like Dakota Davis, who comes every week, and your price goes to $10. Reach 100, your haircut's for free.
All right, so we have returned after our insane profit center timeout. Is that what the Rush Limbaugh show is? Obscene profit timeout. So is it from our fake
There you go,
sponsored
there you
MVP
go.
Barbershop.
There you go.
Yeah, so we got Jesse taken care of. He's doing some on the last podcast. You guys heard he's trying to sell or lease some space above his house. He's got an apartment he needs to, so I think he's changing out a water heater. So he's trying to get that place marketable. Dakota, you got something to sell now too. What's your pitch? What are you trying to sell this week?
Trying to sell my car. If anybody needs a
saw that.
2014 Chevy Sonic, it's got 50,000 miles on it. It's a great little car. I mean, I've really enjoyed driving it.
Have you taken it in a parade as a Shriner yet?
Not yet.
Or,
no.
it was, in a wall chat, somebody called it a clown car. So
Well, I was going to cut the top off and then, then get a little hat that sticks up above it.
yeah,
It's a good little car. It's got a 4-cylinder engine in it and a turbo. I mean, it really goes. It really goes pretty quick.
so if you got any, I tried to get Paul Copeland to buy it. He started out at like $100 or something, or he was doing $1 higher than anybody else. So I told him just go 9,001 and be done with it. But
That's right.
so
Yeah, it's for $9,000, but for a limited time only. If you contact me and mention the Boss Hog of Liberty podcast, your name will be put into running for $50 off.
Wow.
$50 off, and we'll throw in a free tipless haircut.
What?
At MVP
There you go. There you
Barbershop.
go.
If
Why
buy-
not,
if
right?
you buy the car,
Exactly.
Boss Hog Liberty, because we got this nice thing going on with MVP.
That's right. Yeah.
Because they've been a sponsor of us. We will pay for one haircut
Yes.
for the purchaser of
I'll
the
do that.
car.
That's a
Must be a
total-
male. You don't cut women's hair though, right? So it has
Well,
He
I
does.
actually do
He
have
does.
a
Do you?
few women customers.
Really?
Yes.
All
Yes,
right.
I sure do.
So if they want to fade,
Yeah. My lady customers do get those.
there you go.
Yeah.
I already have 2 people that are coming to look at it.
All right.
So,
Well,
Very good.
make sure that turn them on, get them listening,
oh yeah.
and we'll get them taken care of.
Can you preload podcasts in your car?
Yeah, because is this going to be a propaganda vehicle?
Yeah, there you go.
Actually, I can. I can preload any audio.
Yeah. So load it up.
Wow.
So
Have it
there we
ready
go.
to go.
If they buy
There
this
you go.
car, it's going to be full of Alex Jones and Boss Hog
Yeah.
and
Yes.
commercials for MVP.
I might throw in a couple of wall episodes too. Just
There you go.
You know.
Spice it
There's
up
only a
little
couple
bit.
hundred of them for those people
Right.
for the new owner.
Just
It's a nice ride,
get
though.
'em
You
on the
drove to
path.
Evansville. I rode around down there with you, and it was good.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that Chevrolet could put so little into a dash of a car. It's like there's one gauge in that thing. There's not much to it.
There is
The instrumentation is
it's
tidy.
It's all digital.
Yes.
Like everything in the front is digital except for the RPM gauge.
We call that a tack in the business.
Attack.
Attack.
Okay, well,
Tachometer.
you can call it whatever you want. I'm gonna call it the RPMs. So everything else is digitalized.
What's cruising revs? So you 2200? How many RPMs are you running down the road in that thing?
Going down the road, I'd say probably about 2200. Yeah, that's about right.
And if you redliner, you get 3000. What's the
Redlining? No. I've taken that baby up to 6,000 RPM before.
55 miles an hour and 6,000 RPM?
Wow.
I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure you can do 75 or 80 in it and get down the road just fine.
That is a car that I've ever gone the fastest
Really?
in. Yes.
This is a safe space, Dakota. What's that number?
What's that number?
I'm sure it was out of state. It wasn't anything that,
No, it was in the state of Indiana. I'll come clean. I'm going to tell the whole truth and
All right.
nothing but the truth. So help me God.
Okay.
I was driving down 70. Yeah, this is back whenever Audrey attended University of Indianapolis up there. I would drive up there and visit her on the weekends. She had a bunch of meal tickets I could eat for free on them. And as I'm going, I'm
The
heading
sooner
down.
you got there, the more time you got to spend.
Yes.
Yes.
And the more
So,
food you
it
got
was
to eat
urgent.
for free.
Exactly.
So I'm heading down 70, and 70 westbound, and there are two semis. And they're like, somebody must have been being a jerk to them or something because they've completely blocked 70. They're going 50 miles an hour, side by side.
Oh, wow.
Oh, we were,
Got to be on purpose.
yes, it had to have been on purpose. There was a man in a large truck in front of me, and he decides, you know what, screw this. So he goes off on the shoulder. And I'm like, I'm going to go too. So I gun it right behind him, and I'm driving, I'm like, yeah.
So not only an illegal speed,
Right.
an
Shoulder
illegal
driving.
maneuver.
An
In
illegal
a Chevy
maneuver.
Golf cart or Spark. What is it
Wow.
called?
Sonic. It's
All
a
right.
Chevy Sonic.
All right.
Like the
So-
hedgehog.
Yeah. So we're booking it, and we're passing these semis, or all the people that are lined up behind the semis and the semis to get
Oh,
around
wow.
them. And I look down at my speedometer. I'm going 94 miles an hour. And I was like,
On the shoulder.
on the shoulder,
Wow.
rumble strip and everything. And at that
Holy
moment,
cow.
at that specific moment, my muscles locked up because I was terrified.
Oh,
I didn't
wow.
know.
Yeah?
It was like just
90
totally locked up.
94 is the fastest you've ever driven?
Really?
Yes, it is.
You were pulling a Carrie Underwood.
Yeah.
Jesus, take
Jesus,
the wheel.
Yeah. I got there safely. I passed the semis and immediately slowed down because I was
Kissed the ground when you
terrified.
got out of the car.
Wow.
Oh, I was petrified. What's the fastest you've ever gone, Jeremiah? Actually, you better not say since your mom listens to this podcast. It is Mother's Day
It's
after
three
all.
digits. It's probably 130 something, 140,
See,
somewhere in
mine's
there.
less than that.
My
but
goodness.
Mine
How-
was
what?
still over 100.
Wow.
Wow.
I was about 118.
Huh.
We can go down and look at my GPS
Out in the
downstairs and
desert.
see. But if I've had some faster cars.
Speeders.
What do you mean where?
What have you been doing to where you have the need to go 130 miles an hour?
Testing the limits of your
Hot
vehicle.
Rod Lincoln, man. You want to see those telephone lines look like picket fence? You just go whipping.
Oh man, I don't think I could do that.
I'm sure 55 for Clay, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, occasionally, since they've bumped it up to 60 miles per hour on like State Road 3,
You go up to 62?
I do get sometimes.
I mean,
I
cruising-
have to admit it.
In
I have to
in a
admit it.
rush.
Cruising
62.
speed in South Dakota is about 90 miles an hour. We'll put that. Yeah.
That's what I understand.
It's
The speed
fast.
limits out there are
Speed limit is
way
85.
higher, yeah.
That's what I
I
understand.
mean, I've always had like a lead foot, but never a lead
Not if the
foot
fastest
to
you've
go-
ever driven is 94 miles
Well,
an hour.
That's really
right?
sad.
How does that happen?
What do you mean?
How does a person think to themselves, you know what, I'm gonna break 100 today?
Let's see how far we can push this baby.
That's
see
exactly
what
what,
you can do.
happens.
Yeah, I
Yes.
take care of
I've-
my vehicles because
every car
they're
that
an
I have,
investment.
every car that I've owned, I've run it at the terminal velocity as fast as the car would go. I've put it there.
What's the
So that
truck
I
do?
know.
How's the truck do?
It'll be about 95 or 100. But there's some county roads. Rush
my
County had a
speedometer-
very good road at one point that was between Carthage and Arlington, the Carthage Pike, that
Yeah.
you could do. It was there was nobody on the road at all. And
I still
it
don't
was
think I would have
perfectly
reached
straight,
90.
perfectly straight road. impeccable blacktop at the time. And yeah, 140, 145, somewhere in there.
Wow.
I had an Eldorado, 300 horsepower, a little over 300 horsepower.
You are a big IndyCar fan.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
So yeah, I'm starting to see this now.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see it. It's coming together.
I wonder what would have happened if you got pulled over.
You're not going to catch that. That's a lot of effort. They're going to pull over
So
the guy.
you're saying that you would have run away?
No, I'm just saying that by the time you gather yourself, I'm already a mile down the road. 140 miles an hour. That's a half mile a minute.
I do have a little something here. Speaking of legal, illegal, and
Sure.
vehicles, this morning again in my van. This is the communication place with my boys. Okay, so again, I think we're going to church or coming home from church, and they began. Oh yeah, we went by Roll King. They have kayaks out, right? One of my boys says, "Man, I wonder why somebody doesn't just go up and steal one of those, right? I mean, how easy would that be?" So they get into this conversation about how easy it would be to steal kayaks. And my wife says, "Well, it would probably be chained up, blah, blah, blah," right? So we go through it. Well, then they're figuring out ways to do it. So they're like, well, you'd have to wear a mask, and then that way, if they had cameras, nobody would see you. So they're talking about that. Well,
They're
then one of them
working out all the finer points.
yeah,
there.
they are. They really are. They're very smart children. But so then one of them says, well, then you would have to cover your license plate so they couldn't get the license plate number on the cameras.
That is a smart.
And
kid.
and my other boy goes, well, that would be illegal.
That's where you'd have a problem. It would.
Well, that would be illegal.
What you need-
Forget about
illegal.
stealing the kayaks. That's
need to-
perfectly,
what you need to do-
Right,
perfectly
exactly.
law-abiding.
You gotta
Just
borrow-
don't cover the license plate.
You got to borrow your buddy's plate.
That's right.
Oh,
Problem solved.
yeah.
Yep.
I hope
Did you
they
see
don't
that?
listen to
I
this.
saw that there was a device. I saw some guy invented a device where he had a shade that he could remote control that would cover his license plate as he went through toll roads.
I think I read
Oh,
that
wow.
story too.
Yeah, they finally caught him though. Finally caught the old guy.
It's a lot of effort to save $2 to cross a bridge or whatever it is. That's
It's
what, that's
the-
what the crossing
It's
is
the
in Louisville.
principle of it. It's not just because you don't have $2. It's the principle.
A lot of times
paying
it
a
is the
toll.
principle, isn't it?
You don't want to pay
Yeah.
the toll on the bridge. Somebody has to pay for the roads
Well, that's what
If we
road
had
usage
privatized
taxes are for.
roads-
and toll roads.
I don't agree with toll roads, Jer. That's just too much to ask for me.
Speaking of principles,
I'm with you.
okay. Now I know you're the boss hog of liberty on this show.
So that is the Clay. That's the title that
Yes.
I had to accept,
Embrace it.
and I have embraced it. But it
Yes.
is not the title that I selected. It was bestowed upon me.
I understand that. Sometimes greatness is just simply bestowed.
It's this is BHOL or the Boss Hog of Liberty podcast.
There you go. And we're talking
All
about
for
principles here, and I saw on your sheet of paper as I snuck it over and
Yeah,
wanted to see what you
these
were
are
thinking.
general
Yes.
outline ideas.
Well,
in case things got quiet.
I saw one thing on there
Yes.
that I do want to talk about.
All right, let's go. Which Fielder's choice? You pick the topic.
Comey,
Yes, FBI
the
director was
firing
fired.
of the FBI director.
So that's a funny thing. I didn't know when this all came along. An FBI director is appointed to a 10-year term.
Okay.
And
oh, really? I didn't know that.
And Obama
Actually.
had appointed him. So
Gotcha.
this president, whoever this was, unless he made a change, there would have been no opportunity. You have a 2-year term, and you would have never had a chance to replace the FBI director because it was done at the tail end of the Obama administration.
Interesting.
So it was just a surprise to me because I saw that one day. I was like, "What? This would suck," because it's somebody you're saddled with.
Sure.
It's not somebody that resigns, like a chief of staff or an attorney general or somebody along those lines. So that was the one thing before this deal came along and the president relieved him of his duties. I had taken notice of that and going, wow, this you really get saddled with Obama's guy.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, no, I was just thinking that there's a few points that I thought's been interesting lately that I'll just throw out here on the table. One of them is it just shows you. I think sometimes the American people we get played for fools and we accept it. You know what I mean? I mean, we are pawns of the game because here's a guy that Republicans were singing his praises. Okay, when he was exposing some emails, right, of some wrongdoing from Miss Clinton. And then now, a few months in, now we need to get rid of this guy. Now, granted, I understand there's things I don't know. But here's the other thing. Just a couple of weeks ago, many prominent Democrats, right, Hashtag fire Comey. He fires Comey. Now that was a horrible decision because Comey was such a great guy.
Now it's politically motivated the other way.
How
Yeah.
goofy. Now here's the other thing I want to throw on the table is, and I don't know, I admit I don't know much about this, so probably just enough to be dangerous. However, I did see that President Bill Clinton fired his FBI director also.
So there have only been 2 fired, and he was the other one that got tossed. Was the was the guy in the 90s with Clinton?
Yes, and again, and I did look this up on, was it Snopes, right? .com.
That's a
Yeah,
reputable website.
Something like that, right? That it was the day before.
Ron Brown died.
There you go.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'm just saying, interesting. I'm not accusing. I'm just saying interesting.
It is interesting.
Let me get in my drawer and get the tinfoil hats out. We've earned them now.
We've earned them.
But yeah, I talked to my friend. I have a friend. He's a prosecutor for Decatur County. He's a really young man, and just recently elected, Nate Harder. And I said, hey, at the Lincoln Day dinner.
Yes, sir.
Because
What's he running for?
Well, he is 6th District Vice Chair.
All right.
For the Republican Party. Very great guy. But anyhow, I asked him if he was being vetted for the possible opportunity to be the new FBI director. And he said, no way. Yeah,
I think we all...
I did see a name. The president of Anderson University was floated for that job.
No joke?
Yeah.
Really?
That's fully serious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. In all
I don't know much
seriousness-
about him other than
Yeah.
there was a thing
I
in
don't
the paper,
either.
and
Interesting.
a local tie. Anderson's about 20 miles up the road from the home of the Boss Hog and Liberty podcast.
I like Trey Gowdy's response to this whole thing. He seems to be a guy that's fairly reasonable on it.
Isn't he a guy that would typically just drop bombs on Syria to solve the problem?
Well, but on this issue,
oh, okay. I'm sorry.
he, his approach, let's find someone that's not so political,
Sure.
which is going to be difficult, I'm sure. But man, isn't
You
that
know
what
who
we
the-
need?
You know who the right guy for the job is?
Who's that?
Burt Macklin, FBI.
I will put kind of tying things up today on Glenn Beck's show. Chairman Sara was on there, and he talked about how the libertarians' approach to these things is instead of fighting over how much power we give one side or the other, and it's this absolute death match for power because you're going to use the club of government against somebody else. We need to make these people less important. The FBI, the people, the power that we give the executive branch and the overrunning law enforcement. I want the decision on who the FBI director is to be a less of a something that doesn't matter in our lives nearly as much. The person that's in charge of the NSA, the
Right.
person that's in charge of the CIA, all of those are over. We give them too much authority of our lives. I would much rather the guy that matters from law enforcement to be the sheriff that I know and I elect in my local county, and that's the law enforcement that I want to have. That I want to have actually matter, so that Roscoe can be our.
Well,
See,
and
one
it
we
is
care about.
amazing how much the county sheriff, how much authority they really do
Absolutely.
have on the
yeah.
books.
Right.
But
Yeah, it's.
I mean, luckily when we're in Henry County, our county sheriffs are reasonably decent people, and
I think so.
the same with the Newcastle Police Department. I mean, I've never been pulled over in Newcastle, and I have been plenty of times.
I've been pulled over in Newcastle pretty
Yeah.
recently,
Yeah.
but it
But
was
I
mostly
have-
my fault because I didn't have headlights
I've-
on for half of a second.
But I've never been pulled over and the cop be just blatantly
No, me
mean.
either.
Or disrespectful at all.
Right.
No, I've never.
So I
yeah.
think that we need to point out that we are lucky to be in that situation where we are, because I mean,
People aren't that lucky elsewhere.
right?
Yeah, I have. I've had excellent interactions with our local law enforcement, no doubt about it, and they've all been very professional. And I have friends in both the Henry County Sheriff's Department and the Newcastle Police Department. Very good friends in both of those.
But back to what we were talking about with people with power, is I was actually reading a Reason article
Yeah.
a couple weeks ago, and they threw out this statistic, and I didn't fact check this or anything, and just took it for what it is. Reason's pretty reputable to me, and they said that back in the 50s and 60s, so think about the time period. We had it was the Red Scare. People were freaking out about communists and people going in front of Congress and everything. Well, back then with the CIA, the ratio for field people or office people to people in the field was 1 to 2. There's one person in the office to every 2 people out in the field, actually, doing the investigation or whatever, intelligence gathering. Now, in 2016, this is a statistics from back then, 2016, a year ago, it is 10 to 1. Wow. There are 10 people in the offices doing paperwork, stupid stuff.
Just administration.
Yeah, to 1 person out in the field.
And what's amazing is technology has increased so much.
Right.
You'd think that kind of work would...
Yeah.
To where you'd think it would be down to like 1 to 4.
Exactly.
Very interesting.
Man, that's a whole nother...
I wonder how many of those office people, though, are also doing, like, field... I'm using air quotes right now, field work, because of our technology. Are there ways that they're doing different surveillance things that they might have been able... They wouldn't have been able to do without actually being out on the field now, but they can do it from a chair? Because we have a friend who...
That's true.
Works for the military.
Yeah,
and he does some surveillance. He's deployed right now, but he's deployed to Las Vegas.
Yeah,
and his area is in an undisclosed location near the Middle East.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And that's the other thing when you talk about the stuff we talked about today is we all have opinions, and I think we all have pretty darn good opinions. But we don't always know everything, and sometimes there are things we don't know, and that's why I try my best to give myself an opportunity to listen to everything before I begin to speak on an issue. I think many people make themselves look like fools.
You you outrun what you're able to cover. You outtake your coverage pretty quickly sometimes, don't you? Well, we're at the point in the show where we typically kind of do a wrap up and let everybody have a chance at final thoughts and tell individuals or listeners how to get in touch with you, how to follow you. So we'll start with that, Clay. If people want to catch up with you and either support the barbershop or learn more about Clay, the politician, the political life, how do people keep up with what you're doing?
Well, I've got all kinds of stuff. So I have got the MVP Barbershop Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
All right.
And then I also have a more of a ministerial life coach, biblical inspiration kind of stuff going on at claymorgan7.com. Also Claymorgan7 on Facebook, Claymorgan7 Twitter, and I have Instagram, Claymorgan1975. And then for political, just my regular Facebook profile has kind of evolved into just being my political Facebook, because every time I try to post something, everybody comments politically. So anyways, but that's just, I don't know, Clay Morgan 2020, I think it is.
All right.
Yeah,
You're building up to something big in 2020 there?
2020, I'm just saying. You
got the website reserved?
I'm just saying. And then the last one, I tried to separate my government political opinion tweets out because I went through a time period where I got so dang frustrated that anyways, it got very tiring of hearing all the political rhetoric. So, but anyways, it is claymorgan.gov.
Oh, really?
Is my Twitter handle for political opinions.
The official .gov. We have a friend who has tadwestern.edu, we think.
Yes.
So you have .gov. You started your own shadow government. That's excellent. All right. And any other final thoughts or things you want us to keep an eye out for?
Well, next year's election is going to be very interesting, both in our state and locally. So, I know one thing I've been kind of talking to you guys about and kind of keeping my eyes out on what libertarians are going to be running. And because I know you guys have been wanting to get highly engaged in local government, knowing Dakota, getting to know him and knowing you, actually, I can say this, that I feel very confident in that. I wish I knew more libertarians like yourself that would take the approach that you guys have taken, to be honest with you, because there's a lot of issues that need to be taken care of that are need to be treated in a different manner with some more open-mindedness and some reality, if you will.
Oh, yeah.
No doubt about it.
Totally agree.
The lovely Miss Sara Potter.
My only final thought tonight is just for our my Libertarian Party of Morgan County. We have our monthly meeting on June 8th, which is a Thursday, 6 p.m. at Ralph and Ava's in Mooresville, which is a fun time. We usually have a couple guests from outside of the county. We get business done in about 5 minutes, and then the rest of the time we're hanging out.
It's a social event.
It's more of a social club at this point in time. We are working on some recruitment of candidates for this coming election. We're starting to look at different ways we can be participating and be more visible in our local government, because our town government in Mooresville is all Republicans, and the Democrats are like, they don't have a voice at all, even though there's a pretty decent number of them. And then the Libertarians, the people who voted for Libertarians, we surprisingly had a pretty fair amount for an area that I thought was completely red.
Without having any local candidates, you actually
Right.
had some people on the statewide and national that did pretty well.
Yes. And so it was interesting to see the little pockets, the little hotbeds in our county and around Morgan County. So we're kind of looking at those and seeing what we can do and go with the momentum a little bit. And then the other thing is that it is Mother's Day. So I know my mom listens to this podcast, and I've already wished her once before, but happy Mother's Day to my mother.
Absolutely. Happy Mother's Day to both your mom and mine, because they both do listen. Once again, I'm shocked and amazed that we have listeners, but we do, and we appreciate it very much. You want anybody following you on social media, or you already have a boyfriend, so you're good? You're not looking for anybody else to hit you up?
People can follow me on social media. I'm on Facebook. My name is Sara Potter. I forget what my little handle thing is on Facebook, but I know on Twitter I do not post anything anymore, really.
You just retweet and read.
Yeah,
You're a lurker.
I'm the Sara Potter on Twitter. I recently changed it because I was like, what if I hit it big one day? So you never know.
That's thinking ahead.
Thinking ahead.
Clay, you're kind of big time. Have you tried to get the blue check mark on your stuff yet?
I'm just not there.
Not there. Not there yet. Get verified.
And then on Instagram, I'm not going to share that information because
it's private.
I've had students try to add me on Instagram, and I told them no, we don't do that.
If you're dealing with Sara professionally, don't even try. She's an educator, and she will not interact with the families or the students, I guess, on the social media.
I'll interact with families, but it's usually I usually wait till the end of the year.
So if we have
unless I mistakenly add you, then I just leave you.
If we have any third graders that are listening, turn this off now.
You should have not been listening. Yeah. Although this podcast
one's
is
been
very
one of the better
clean.
ones. Yeah.
It's very clean.
Don't listen to episodes 1 through 6, kids.
No, we're pretty clean. We try to keep it pretty clean.
I'm clean, and you're mostly clean.
I'm
but sometimes
clean,
some of the guests.
Minus your Cosmo article shares.
Yeah.
Other than that.
You got a Cosmo article for us, Dakota?
I don't have a Cosmo
article
article this time. However, I did see a headline today about lawmakers. They proposed a split in Washington State. Half of the state would remain Washington State, and half of it would be called Liberty State.
That's going to go far.
So there we go.
I've heard about this once before.
It's because there's such a
Jefferson,
polarization there.
It's kind of like Jefferson in California.
Yeah.
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 Good
The
luck.
state of Jefferson.
I mean,
Good luck. I'm sure that the rest of the country wants more senators.
I might be moving to Liberty State one day.
Don't cause yourself a residency issue. Residency in the state of Indiana is a state of mind, and if you get elected, you'll end up like Charlie White and in jail because you pretended to live somewhere you didn't. As it is now, you got a trailer down in southern Indiana that you could pretend is somewhere you live. Yeah, you live there on the weekends.
Yeah, except for this weekend, I had to go.
You live there more than the mayor of Newcastle lives in Newcastle. So I've heard. I've never. Anyway.
No. Greg York is a good guy, and if he's listening, we'd love to have you on.
I would love to have him on, and I would love to have him drive me straight down 14th Street in Newcastle. Darn it, you can't get through. 38 is trash right now, and I love that there's construction, and I'm glad it's being done.
It'll be nice when it's over.
But man,
Yeah.
you can't.
I drive around for a living for Duke Energy. Oh, crap, I should have said that. We've done
out.
such a good job. Yeah, bleep it out.
Brisket
Okay.
energy.
Yeah, brisket. But anyway, I go from Markleville.
Okay, folks, stop. Google Maps out and look up Henry County, Indiana, and you can follow along with Dakota.
Okay, so if you're following along on 38, I go from Markleville,
To the west,
yes, to Richmond,
all the way to the east.
which is
Over there by Ohio, where you can buy beer on Sunday.
right.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, 38 being closed has been a royal pain in my butt. It is, and all the traffic on I Avenue. I Avenue was not built for bucket trucks.
It's a rough life for us. All right, so how do we follow you on social media?
All right, you can follow me. I've actually gotten quite a bit of friend requests.
Have you?
Yeah. Like
Nobody's added me. They're either all friends with me or I've just ignored them.
No. You've had other people add you as friends.
A handful.
Yeah. See, they're just now adding me. They weren't sure if they wanted me as a friend or not. I think it's because I'm not on the.
You're not
on the artwork.
You got to take that up with the syndicator. I'm totally fine if we replace their artwork. Okay, if it gets an upgrade, that's cool.
I think Dakota,
because I've got old man hands right now.
I think Dakota should be Flash,
Flash,
the dog.
No,
Basset
that
Hound.
should be
the Basset Hound.
No,
Yes.
that's Dodger. Dodger is our Flash of the show.
For now. What's
Well,
left?
then it'll be Daisy.
In the little bit of time that's left.
All you have
But
to
anyway,
do is
just add me on
Snapchat
Facebook.
filter.
All right,
Dakota
and
Davis.
like Donnie Baker, you're trying to sell a car, not a boat, but you're selling a car.
Yes, I'm trying to. Please buy my car. I have a
got-
wedding to pay for.
He's got a wedding to pay for.
and a
he
honeymoon
lost-
to Hawaii.
He lost $70 down
How
in
are we?
Evansville.
Yeah.
So how's he going to pay for this wedding without selling
How
that
are we going
car?
to podcast when you're in Hawaii? Can Sarah and I go too?
Yeah, absolutely.
Join you on your honeymoon?
Come along. Yeah. We have a private villa on the beach.
Yeah.
The,
No, I think.
Is it 2 rooms?
No, it's just one. It's
No,
a honeymoon
we're
villa.
not going.
So we
There's a
have to
heart-
camp outside?
There is a super gaudy,
God.
heart-shaped red jet tub in the bedroom.
You
Nice.
need to take all kinds
That's
of
what's on the.
photos.
So fun.
Nice.
That's what's on the brochure. I want to hear about what it's like when you actually get there, and they've already got your money, and you go, well, it's more of a kidney being shaved, and it was red, but now it's mostly. It looks like the Newcastle Inn.
With the money that I paid for this place, it better be exactly what's on the
It's already
brochure.
paid for. That's already set.
Oh, yeah, it's already paid for. Everything is.
So what are you going to do with all the money that you guys get at your wedding?
Yeah. What's this dollar dance gonna
Wait
pay
a minute.
for?
People give money at weddings.
Yes.
I've been to 2 weddings in my life. I
Those
didn't know
cards,
people give weddings.
the
money
cards-
at weddings.
You know the cards that people
Okay.
give you? Or the cards that they got?
You also didn't know you're supposed to tip your barber.
Yeah. Those are usually filled with a little bit
There's
of
a lot of
little
life
bit of something.
experiences we got to work out for Dakota here.
I've only gone 94.
Have you
in
ever
car,
heard of a
too.
dollar dance?
No.
Okay, a dollar dance is a brilliant idea. You guys
Okay.
can say
Well,
we'll talk about
it's
it
not
later.
done at all of them.
We'll talk about it later.
Okay. Tell me how it's a brilliant idea.
It's a brilliant
It's
idea.
objectification, I would think. Aren't you supposed to
Slightly.
be talking about how this is
Wait a
bad
minute,
for
wait a
women?
minute.
I'm perfectly okay with being objectified if I am the one that benefits from it. Now, if I'm not benefiting from it, then I'm like, no, not so much. Like when somebody calls me hun on social media, has no idea who I am, doesn't even know me, that kind of ticks me off a little bit because that
The last wedding I went to that had a dollar dance, I paid $10 or $20 or whatever. it was.
$20 for 2 dances with the groom.
And I danced with the groom because he was my buddy, and I knew it was going to make him feel awkward. So it felt better than dancing with his 18-year-old bride who I didn't know. I was like, this is it's you trying to between the two choices.
Where did he buy her from?
I think he found her at church.
Yeah, it's felt more like a biblical arranged marriage. I don't know. I don't know. All right. So, anything else to sell? You got to GoFundMe for
Is
Dodger
this
or
going to
anything?
be like the swap
No, no.
shop
This is
on
like swap shop.
WCBK?
It's like
GoFundMe for Dodger.
Yeah.
Maybe one day, but not right now.
GoFundMe for Dodgers
If anybody
diapers.
wants to drive up to Newcastle, if you're one of the Kentucky listeners, if you want to drive up to Newcastle and help me put up my fence that I just bought, that would be wonderful.
So you did pick up a fence today in Muncie from Dustin Reed and weighed down your car, and apparently it was one neighbor thought it was nice. You went and had to pick it. You had to take it down. One guy thought it was great, and the other guy thought it was a piece of crap that he never wanted to look at again. So
Yeah, the one guy comes out and he's like, I don't know why he's selling this fence. This is a great fence. And I was like, yeah, I don't know. That's why I'm buying it. The other neighbor comes out and he goes, well, I'm not sad to see this junky thing go. And I was like, oh, well, I'm putting it up at my house.
You want to come over?
yeah, exactly. Well, I want to thank everybody for sticking with us. This is episode 7. We're in seven episodes deep. Really do appreciate all of the listeners. It's been very cool. On my list of things to accomplish is a Facebook page for the Boss Hog of Liberty. So we should have a page here within the next week or so. I'll find a quiet evening and get that put together. So once you see that up there, like it and share it and get your friends invited so we can have a little bit of a web presence that's not entirely on the We Are Libertarians banner. I do want to thank Chris again for helping us out with the hosting. If you guys want to help offset his costs, jump onto WeirdLibertarians.com and make a little donation there. $7 a month, and on PayPal is the Jeremiah Morrell Pizza Society. You can go back and check the archives of Weird Libertarians for the story on that one. If you want to follow me at Jeremiah Morrell on Twitter or Facebook.com/Jeremiah Morrell, and we'll have one for the podcast soon. Like it, subscribe it, review it. New podcast. If you go out and give it 5 stars and review it, we can actually rise up a little bit in the iTunes store, which would be hilarious. If we become a valued a high profile podcast,
It'd be wonderful. Not just hilarious, just
it
awesome.
Would be, yeah. That's really the gift I want to give Dakota for his wedding, since he doesn't expect cash. If I can just give him a successful podcast.
There you go.
Hey, if you can pay me cash to dance with my bride,
No. You don't dance with your bride for
her.
money.
You
The
dance
guests
with
do.
the guests or her.
Your
well,
seedy
still, I'm
uncle,
getting cash out of
he
it.
gives you $50 and
You're
dances
talking.
with your.
You just said $20. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, you want to be creative about who you like. If you, as you're playing this game of inviting people to the wedding, find somebody you think has money.
2 weeks from now, actually, we're sitting down.
Find somebody you think has money but can't make it, and they'll give you a gift but not show up.
So
And then
no cost for you.
And they'll be like, sorry, I can't make it. Here's whatever you registered for. And then when they come back and say they can't go, then somebody you really needed to go to the wedding, then you can bring them and you can double them up.
I have
a little
already
bit.
added so much stuff to my Amazon wish list. It's awesome. I'm so pumped for this.
You want to publish your Amazon wish list on here next and see what gifts you start to get?
Hey, it worked for Chris Spangle.
That's
who
right.
Says it can't work for Dakota Davis.
That's exactly right.
That's right.
All right. So anyway, I do thank all of the listeners for following us. It does mean a lot. It's been fun. Really impressed with all the folks in Kentucky that are following us, and of course the people in India. If you're listening across the country, I do want you to message me and be like, enough of this local crap for your tiny little town in Indiana, or you're like, well, no, it's exactly like my town and it resonates. That's cool too. So anyway, this has been the Boss Hog of Liberty, Jeremiah Morrell, Dakota Davis, Sara Potter, and the elected official Clay Morgan. Thank you all.
Thank you for listening to the We're Libertarians Network. Get our other shows at We'reLibertarians.com.